Good morning, my friend. It's Monday. Aaron Schlein here, and this is hour number 6 of the 24 Hours of Action podcast. This podcast, my friend, is a blueprint for advancing your goals through one action-packed hour every single day. We are on day number 6 of 24 hours of action, and I'm really glad you're here, my friend. Head over to 24hoursofaction.com. All the fun, everything I've been doing over the last 5 and now 6 days is right there for you. The podcasts, all the blog posts, the videos, everything you need to know about the 24 hours of action is right there, my friend. Today is a special day for me. I'm going to be a guest on a podcast hosted by a man named Peter Shankman. The podcast is called Faster Than Normal, and this is a podcast that I have been listening to for several months now, and I've been following Peter's career for about 7 months. Since day one, since the first day I was introduced to him via a podcast. Podcast was called EO Fire, hosted by a man named John Lee Dumas. And Peter was his guest on October the 4th, 2017. I immediately picked up his latest book, which is also titled Faster Than Normal. And over the last several months, I've formed a bit of a connection with Peter, just over social media and email. And one thing has led to another, and Peter invited me to be a guest on his podcast, Faster Than Normal. And my friend, this is a big deal for me because Peter's a guy who's wildly successful. He's a marketing expert. He is a keynote speaker. He's an author of multiple best-selling books. This is a guy who's several grades above my pay grade, several rungs ahead of me on the ladder of life, whatever metaphor you'd like to use. The bottom line is being invited to be a guest on his podcast is a huge deal for me, and I am very, very excited and honored to have been asked to join Peter on his podcast today. But the takeaway from all this, the takeaway from my experience that ultimately led to me being invited on Peter's podcast was how I formed the connection with him over the last several months. Because like I said, this is a guy he's incredibly busy, he's incredibly successful. I don't serve, or I at least felt maybe that I didn't serve any sort of real purpose or was able to add any real value to his life. And I was wrong, and I didn't really even realize what I was doing along the way as I was forming this connection with Peter. I, little comments on social media, and I sent him a couple of emails. The first one was thanking him for his book. It just came from a very genuine place. I felt compelled to send him an email. I don't think that's ever happened to me before, where I put down a book after completing it and said, I've got to write the person who authored this book, because that's how strong I feel about this book and the impact it's had on my life. I need to let this person know just how valuable that I found their book. So I sent Peter an email. He replied back very kindly, and we've exchanged short notes every now and then over the last several months. I wrote a blog post that I put up last month, just kind of detailing the impact that his work has had on my life in such a short time. And he also replied very kindly to that blog post. And ultimately, I kind of came to the conclusion that I feel like I would be a good guest on Peter's podcast, Faster Than Normal. I think I skipped ahead. So the topic of Faster Than Normal is ADHD, and the idea that ADHD is not a curse, but it's actually a blessing. And I have had a faster than normal brain my entire life, and it's definitely been full of ups and downs. But what Peter has showed me through his work is that if we set up our lives appropriately, we can capitalize on the strengths of the ADHD brain, of the faster than normal brain, and really downplay its weaknesses. And he's built a career and built a life really around that whole concept, where he's able to just truly amplify the strengths of his ADHD brain and learn tips and tactics and strategies to mitigate for those weaknesses. And in just a really short time, I've been able to employ a lot of those tactics in my own life, and it's been just a game changer for me. So I'm so grateful for his work, and I am, again, honored and thrilled to have been invited on his podcast. But again, the takeaway is just coming at him, approaching my relationship with him from a place of value, from a place of advancing his mission, and that's really what frankly what got me noticed. What made that connection was like, he saw me as, here's this guy who's can add value to this mission and can add value to my life. And nobody's unattainable when you can approach somebody through that position of service, through that position of adding value. No one's unattainable. People crave value in their life, and that includes people who you might think are unattainable. And so definitely, if there's somebody you admire, if there's someone who's added value to your life and you feel like you can reciprocate by adding value to their life, to their mission, definitely use the technology and the tools that we have again in 2018 to reach out and add that value, make that connection, and it might just change your life. It's definitely changed mine. And even if nothing comes out of this interview, even if this doesn't, take my mission or my contribution to Peter's mission to a higher level, I still feel like it's a great win for me just to be able to share my story and add value, even if it's just to one of his listeners out there. That's a win for me. So that's Monday, guys. Hour number 6, 24 hours of action. It's in the books, and we're going to have a really good Monday, and I'm going to come at you tomorrow. I'll share briefly, maybe give you a highlight or two from my interview with Peter, which again is happening today at noon. I don't know when that episode's going to go live, but I will certainly let you know. Head over to 24hoursofaction.com for everything you need to know. Get on that email list and engage with me, communicate, and I'm going to make this show as much about you as I possibly can, but I need to hear from you guys. Appreciate it. Have a great Monday. We'll talk tomorrow.